Welcome back to Beyond Astrology. I am Geoff Newton, and this Beyond Astrology series is designed to help you understand how I see astrology, which I believe is very different than a lot of people see astrology. In this video, I'm just going to cover something that is a little more well-known, and yet I still get the question often enough that I feel like putting an answer out there, because I've been sitting on this answer for like 10 years, and it's one of the more annoying ones because the solution is so simple. And that is simply this. People ask me, did you know that the sun signs have changed in the last 2,000 years and now all astrology is irrelevant? And this is based on a real factual thing. Yes, 2,000 years ago, for example, the constellation Aries was at the time that we have the sign Aries, right? The spring equinox, March through April. And that was the time where you'd see in the sky, if you looked up, the Aries constellation. Now, that's no longer true. Now it's shifted because of this thing called precession, the precession of the equinoxes, where the constellations are shifting slowly over time because of the wobble of the Earth on its axis. So now when you look at that time of year, the constellation of Pisces is actually there. So what people have taken that to mean is that all astrology now becomes worthless and useless and is just wrong, and that astrologers never caught this. But who said that astrology has to do with the constellations? See, that's a common myth, and some forms of astrology focus on those constellations. One branch is called sidereal astrology, and they did go ahead and change their signs, so they are up to date. As for the rest of the mainstream popular astrology that you've heard about, the signs didn't change. Why? Is it because astrologers missed this? No. It's simply because while the constellations changed, the seasons never did. You still have, for example, the spring equinox in March. So the days were shortest in December and then gradually getting longer, and we get past the halfway point towards that time of year where the days are the longest, where the sun is out the longest. And that halfway point, as the sun is rising up, has to do with this March spring equinox and this archetype of Aries. Aries is a fire sign because the sun is now ready to melt the snow. It's this emerging sign. It's this I have the power to go ahead alone, which is represented in this mythology of the sun being now ready to melt the snow. So all it is an astrological story based on the seasons. So that's the first thing, is that doesn't change just because the constellations changed. We still have the same seasons. And that's what Western tropical astrology, that's what they call it. It's the most popular form of astrology. That's why it never changed the signs. It's not because they didn't notice that the constellations shifted. It's because it was always based on these seasonal rhythms of the longest day of the year, the shortest and darkest day of the year, the time called the fall, when the sun is falling and the days are getting shorter and shorter in that fall equinox. And then this spring, where it's springing up and ready to ascend into its highest position. That has not changed. That's why that hasn't changed. But there's a second good reason to not really care about the constellations shifting. It doesn't mean a thing because, as I covered in previous videos, we are not affected by the stars. At least I don't believe so. And if we are, definitely not to the degree that astrology talks about. Astrology is about an inner process, an inner zodiac that happens to be timed with the solar system out there. Just the way the sun might rise at 6 a.m. in the morning, it happens to be timed at my watch, but my watch definitely doesn't cause the sun to rise at 6 a.m. You can't get them confused. So yes, the constellations have changed, and if astrology was based on stars causing us to do things, then that would have changed too. But it ain't. Astrology is not based on that, at least as far as I'm concerned. So that question to me seems a little bit irrelevant, but I understand that where it comes from. A lot of mainstream astrology does sound like the stars are out there doing things to you, and it's a very real current phenomenon in the universe, and you're feeling the way you're feeling and acting the way you act, bad or good, and it's all because of some stars out there. Not at all. So that's what I have for you today. Thanks for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, go ahead and like it. If you're watching this on the YouTube channel, you can subscribe to that now. And I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. Have you heard of this precession of the equinoxes before, where the signs switched? And if so, Did you have something to think about when it came to your star sign? And did you learn something new here today? As always, it was a great pleasure, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.